Smooth FM. Let's go to Bayswater North. Hi, Marni.
Hi, Soren. How are you going?
Look, I'm well, but something special is happening today in your world. Tell me about it.
Yes, it's our 8-year anniversary with my husband, Christian. Very excited. This time last year, he was about to have surgery to remove melanoma. So I'm excited this year because he's currently all clear and we can have a great celebration.
Have you guys got kids?
Yes, we've got 3 boys. We've got Flynn, Aiden and Archer.
Tell me about the song that you want to dedicate to him.
My smooth favourite is Michael Bublé's My Everything.
A big fan of Michael Bublé?
Definitely, definitely. My husband and I both love him and his songs are just fantastic.
Would you like to see him next year?
Would love to see him. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get tickets, but would love to see him again.
I've got tickets for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
It's your wedding anniversary. You deserve it. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. He'll be wrapped.
A couple of tickets to see Michael Bublé at Rod Laver Arena next year. And by the way, still some good seats available for concert number 4. All the details at smoothfm.com.au.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so exciting.
Well, let's play your song right now on Smooth FM.
Thanks, Simon.
You okay?
Yep. Just a bit emotional.
This is diary entry 1. This came about because I have melanoma and my wife and I decided that we want to document what's happening and how it's going and anything that happens in the future. Whether this story ends on a happy note, I don't know. But we're going on a journey together and I thank you for being here on this journey and seeing what happens.
Today we do Relay for Life for the Cancer Council and it's quite an emotional time for us all. I just keep thinking at the moment Christian's cancer, thyroid cancer, radiation all happened 2 years ago and I just, you know, I was on my own while he was in hospital for a week having radiation and I just keep thinking about that time and sort of being alone. Well, you know, you have family but it's still quite isolating and now we're about to go through it all over again.
In 1998 I had a mole on my hip removed. It turned out to be melanoma. From there it spread into the lymph nodes in my groin and they were removed in 2000. In 2004 the melanoma had turned up in my lung and they took out a wedge of there and they're also worried a little bit about my liver. So I had 2 major operations, one on my liver and one on my lung. Luckily the liver was clear and unfortunately the one in my lung was cancer. Soon after that I married my wonderful wife in 2005 and things were cruising. We had a beautiful boy Flynn and then we had a beautiful boy Aiden.
Where's Daddy?
And shortly after that in 2010 unfortunately my melanoma returned into my lung again. So basically they took out 2 wedges out of my lung this time and they felt they got it all, so they were pretty happy with what happened. Unfortunately I'm here now on the 17th of November knowing that on the 29th of November I go back into surgery to have more melanoma removed from near my lung, this time up near my heart and near my pulmonary artery. So some scary times are going to be ahead for me.
Just feeling a little bit lost at the moment. Just want to curl up in a little ball and cry.
Today, being the 17th of November, the Maroondah, in Maroondah Council, they have the Relay for Life for the Cancer Council. and it's basically walking for 18 hours in groups, so you don't have to do the whole 18 hours yourselves. But we do it in groups, and I've got a team together called the Fuzz Demons, because my nickname's Fuzz, and we're going to be walking around the town park remembering those we've lost, and also for those who are fighting, and also walking for those people who care for those who have cancer. So far we've raised over $4,000 for the Cancer Council, and I'm very proud that we have actually given something back today.
The second candle is going to be lit by Christian Cousins. Christian is going through his own battle with cancer at the moment, and it takes a lot of courage for Christian to come up here and light that candle. So Christian, we'd love you to light that candle as a symbol of the strength that you have and that you can get through this.
I walk for Mum, who's got breast cancer. So she has chemo in a couple of weeks. I'm really exhausted. Really tired. And I don't think that's the way to go when you're about to step into something. The week of Mum's chemo is the same week of Christian's surgery. And it's going to be a shit week.
I feel like bursting into tears and crying, but there's a lot of emotion I'm feeling, because today we walk for those we've lost, and I'm hoping that this disease, this awful disease, doesn't claim me. I've got 3 beautiful boys, Flynn who's 5, Aiden who's 2, and little Archie who's 4.5 months. And I really want to see them grow up. I'm scared that they're going to forget about me and not know me if something bad does happen. And constantly, all these, because I've only just found out again that my cancer's back, I'm constantly thinking about it.
I started working with melanoma patients back around 1988 when I started training in oncology. And in those days, looking after people with advanced melanoma was very different to what it is today. We didn't have the treatments then that we have now. We didn't have the supportive care measures then that we had now, and it was a pretty difficult time. Treatments were pretty torrid back then. Melanoma is a type of cancer that usually starts in the skin. It can actually start in just about any tissue in the body because the cells that it starts from are present in tissues all through the body, but they're very common in the skin. And melanomas do occur most commonly in areas that have been exposed to sunlight, excessive amounts of sunlight, but they can occur in other parts of the body as well. Most melanomas, when they're found, are just confined just to the area where you see them, so it's a mole that's growing, and if that can be removed effectively, then there may be no further problems with that cancer. So we met Christian first in the early 2000s, and at that time he'd had the melanoma removed from his groin and there was no sign of any cancer left. And then over the next few years it did come back from time to time, and he had more operations, and each time we were able to get into the point where we could no longer see any cancer on the scans anymore. He came to see us because he knew about us at the Austin as a group of clinicians and researchers that were interested in melanoma, and because we had a development program of new treatments that were coming through. So one of the things he was interested in was whether there might be any clinical trials. That particular clinical trial was fairly intensive, and it's pretty impressive that he took part in it, because at the time, as I said, he didn't have any sign of any cancer left in his body that we could see. We knew there was a risk of it coming back, but there was no sign of it. So here's someone taking on a treatment, an unknown treatment, an unproven experimental treatment with a fair bit involved, with no guarantee that it was going to be of any use to him whatsoever. I think that speaks to Christian's character, that he wanted to do that not just for himself, but to try to advance the field and the knowledge of this, and really to try to help other people in the future.
It's been a week since Relay for Life. Relay for Life was exhausting, but it was a good time. I feel like a bit of deja vu at the moment, taking up a new film project that I'm trying to do. And last time I did a film project with the 3 Ages of Sasha, Aiden was a baby, and I had to postpone a few things because Christian had to have surgery, and now it's deja vu. Well, feels like it a bit over again. We've got Archer now, who's a baby, and I've taken on this film project. We go to Phillip Island tomorrow for a weekend. I'm so glad we booked it. When I was walking around the Relay for Life track, I started crying. And once I started crying, I couldn't stop. And all I could think about was, it's so unfair. It's just not fair.
I'm a thoracic surgeon, and I've been working at the Austin Hospital since 2006. And there are 4 of us that work there at the moment, and it's one of the busiest thoracic surgery units in the country, really. From memory, I first met Christian back in December of 2010. I met him in the outpatient department at the Austin Hospital, and I remember him because, I mean, he was a challenging case first off, but also because he came to me with certainly very firm ideas of what he would like done. He certainly wasn't going to take no for an answer, and I certainly noticed that right from the start. But initially the referral was basically for an opinion to see whether or not we could offer him anything from a surgical perspective. To sort of summarise, basically what had happened is that in screening for his melanoma, they had done CT scans and PET scans, and that suggested that there was a spot in the lower section of his left lung, and also a suspicious spot in what we call the hilum of the left lung. And the hilum of the left lung is the area of the lung which is right in the middle of the lung, which contains the major artery, major vein, and the airway of the lung, and lymph nodes sit there. And the PET scans and the CT scans suggested that there were lymph nodes that were suspicious for cancerous spread. So the melanoma unit at the Austin Hospital had asked us to see whether or not we thought that we could resect these spots. Number one, to obviously come up with a diagnosis, and number two, also to essentially try and treat the spread of cancer, to try and decrease the amount of tumour that was in Christian's body.
Okay, it's the 27th of November, and it's about 9:30 at night, and I haven't done this for a few weeks. I suppose the reason why I haven't done it is I've had a feeling that every time I film this or talk about it, that something bad's going to happen. It's 2 days to go before I go under the knife and they remove this melanoma. Hopefully the last time, it won't never come back again. And then the recovery starts, and then after the recovery, hopefully radiation will kill off any other cells that might be in that area of my body. Today I went and had an ultrasound to see if they could find the tumour that's on my 7th rib, near my 7th rib, but unfortunately they couldn't find it. So that sort of sets up for the doctors having to cut me open bigger and try to find that little bit that's there, which they can find on the PET scan, so they should be able to find when they open me up and able to have a look and seeing what happened. Otherwise, everything's been going along really well. My work has been fantastic, very supportive. You know, are there for me if I need to. I've kept my job open. They've opened up my sick leave for me, which I really appreciate and know that I would never even think about leaving that workplace. Classes have been fantastic for me. Right through this, my biggest fear is not me dying. I'm more scared that my kids won't remember me. I'm more worried about how Marni's going to cope, how my parents are going to cope, what's going to happen in the future for them. With melanoma and cancer, I feel, and no one else might feel this, but I feel that I've got the easy job because I fight the illness. If I win, awesome, I'm around. If I don't win, I die. That's it. I'm not around for that. It's my kids, my wife, my parents, all those people that are special to me who have to keep on going without me. And I'd rather this happen to me than anybody else. Because I don't know how carers can do it. I don't know how people can watch another person fight cancer and then lose their lives and go on. I don't know how I'd cope with it. And I'm amazed how my wife can not only be there for me and work through everything that I'm going through, but also have the added worry of her mother having breast cancer, having to look after 3 kids, and the worries and thoughts that she must have and what she's going through. Her strength is just amazing, and I've married the most amazing woman in the world who's helped me bring into the world 3 beautiful and amazing boys who I'm very proud of and I love very, very much.
With Christian, having such a serious illness, I just felt it was important that he not have to worry about his job here and concentrate on getting himself better as soon as he possibly could.
Christian got his results last Thursday, and Christian went in and, waiting. I didn't know what was going to happen, but he walked out with a big smile on his face, so I knew that everything was alright, which is great, and a huge relief for all of us. When I first saw the doctor with Christian about his melanoma and his surgery, I went, when we were engaged, I went to learn a bit more about the cancer and the procedure and found it quite helpful in coping with things. One of the things that stuck with me was that it will just be cut out, and they'll keep cutting it out until they can't cut it out anymore. And so now Christian has a little bit of a patchwork quilt going up the side of his back. When we first got together, we used to lie in bed and I'd just snuggle into him, and I'd always have my arm over his waist. And then after his first big lot of surgeries, I couldn't put my arm over his waist anymore. At the moment, that big body pillow in between us, wrapped around him so he's comfortable and he can sleep at night. So there's no snuggling involved whatsoever. Lucky if I get to hold his hand. It's quite depressing, really.
10 years ago, around the time when we first started seeing Christian, the mainstays of treatment for melanoma were remove it if you could, fry it with radiotherapy sometimes, and we'd sometimes treat it with chemotherapy. And occasionally you'd see a very good response to chemotherapy. More commonly you would see a minor shrinkage, slowing down of the tumour growth, a stabilisation of the tumour growth, maybe a little bit of shrinkage, and that was not a long-lasting effect. And so we were not curing people with chemotherapy, but that was the best treatment that we had. And the best chemotherapy drugs that we have today are the same ones that we had back then and the same ones that we had 10 years before that. So there hasn't been a lot of improvement in conventional chemotherapy over that period of time. But what there has been a huge increase in understanding of why melanomas do what they do. So we now know for many different types of melanomas, for example, there are characteristic genetic spelling mistakes that happen inside the melanoma cells. These are not necessarily genetic mistakes that people carry in their normal genes, in normal cells in their body, but they're things that the melanoma has acquired and which give the melanoma cells an advantage in the way they grow. But they're also an Achilles heel because we now have treatments in many cases that are aimed at these genetic mistakes, and we've shown that if those genetic mistakes are present and you get treatment with some of these new drugs, then you can sometimes see a very profound effect, major shrinkages of the cancer, sometimes quite long-term control. We also know that that's not the final answer because many of these patients getting these sorts of treatments have a wonderful response, but eventually the cancer, which is a very sneaky type of cancer, can work out a way around it and it starts to grow again. It acquires new genetic mistakes or some other way where it changes the circuitry inside itself so that even though the treatment is continuing, it's worked out a way to continue to grow.
Last week I went back and got the results from the doctors, and it was probably the best Christmas present you could ask for. They let me know that they have actually got all the melanoma out. The tumour on my 7th rib turned out to be a lymph node in the muscle, which isn't supposed to be there. So they cut that out and cut most of the muscle out around it, so there was plenty of margins around it, and that was all fantastic. And the one in my lung was taken out successfully. They got all the lymph nodes out, and there were quite a few that were cancerous. Out of how many, they don't know because it was all intertwined and mingled and mashed together. So basically, I sit here today with all my cancer gone, which is awesome news. What happens from here is I wait until I go back and see my melanoma doctors, and they see what they want to do next. After talking with my chest surgeon, Dr. Gilby, he recommends that I don't have radiation treatment. If I have radiation treatment and the cancer comes back, it's going to be a lot harder for them to operate. And people say that, you know, I'm really strong and brave and you know, a positive influence and all this sort of stuff. I don't feel that. I feel that I'm a person who's just ignoring what's happened to me and just trying to believe that it's not real, that this is just a bad dream and, you know, nothing's bad's going to happen. But the sad reality of it all is that this melanoma can come back. It could come back, and it most likely will. Whether that's a year, 2, 5, 10, we don't know. I'm hoping that it's never, or at least 50 years, but who knows.
Emergency
765236.
Okay, Chelsea, whereabouts do you need the ambulance? Okay, what's the problem there? Tell me what's happened.
My husband had surgery a couple of weeks ago to remove cancer, and he's having trouble breathing. He had a virus in the last 24 hours.
So what's his main problem this morning?
His chest is squelching like bubble wrap, he says, and he's having trouble breathing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he clammy?
Clammy? Yeah.
And does he have a history of heart problems?
No history of heart problems.
No. Does he have asthma?
Yeah, he does have asthma.
Does he have an emergency action plan or special medications?
No, he's been on medication for surgery, but other than that, no.
But not for the asthma?
No.
Okay. All right, the ambulance is organised there for him, okay? Just stay right with him, watch him very closely, make sure the front door's unlocked. If anything changes or he gets worse in any way, call us straight back on 000, okay?
Okay,
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
It's been a long week and I didn't film it, but Christian was rushed to hospital last Sunday with a punctured lung. He caught a virus and from vomiting he had punctured his lung, so he couldn't breathe. So it was a hard week. Not only that, he also got golden staph and now he's coming for another 4 weeks with a PICC line in, antibiotics. So tonight I light a candle for good health, happiness, an easier year, and I hope that no cancer comes back next year, or the year after that even, or the year after that. But I know that I can't. I can be optimistic, but I can't be naive about it.
After the last operation that I did, I think that I said hello to him in the sort of pre-operative room, and I remember him, I shook his hand and said, "How are you?" and all that sort of stuff, and said, "You ready to go?" And then I think he either pointed to you and your new baby, or a picture of it, and then he said, "Look, you better make sure that I wake up and I see them in the morning." And I went, "Okay, thanks, Christian. Thanks for the increased pressure." You right, Russell?
Yes.
Cheeky boy. Cheeky boy. Apple, cheese sandwich, cheese and crackers. It's a lot of cheese. What else? Teddy bear biscuits. Happy enough?
One.
Two.
No,
Happy
one.
enough?
One.
One what?
Flynn,
One teddy bear.
Two.
go sit down, please. Go sit at the table.
How have you been feeling with your dad being in hospital?
I don't know. I feel sad.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What part of it makes you sad?
Taking Daddy out hospital.
How are you feeling about what's going to happen with the result?
Nervous, anxious, unsure what's going to happen next, but feeling positive that it's going to be a good outcome. Unfortunately, I won't know what's going on until I get there. So it's not like previously when they were doing stuff, it was always, are they going to find something? Are they going to find something in my lung? Every appointment, are they poking and prodding and they're looking at things on me? This one is different because yes, they're going to check me and poke me and prod me and make sure that everything's okay, but also it's more of a, okay, this is what we're going to do now. So I'm not as anxious as I normally am when I go, but I'm still anxious about how radiation works and what's going to happen and the outcome and, you know, the effects of it and all that sort of stuff. So that's the part that is anxious, not the actual having radiation or doing that sort of stuff, but more about the side effects and how it works and whether they can, or what their discussion was with all their doctors. So, who knows?
And you're worried about, if you do this, you're not going to have options for other further treatment down the track, or? Or you don't really have a choice?
In that lung, they can't operate on it again now, anyway, because they've already done 3 operations on it. And every time you do an operation on the lung doesn't expand as much as it normally would. I'm presuming that if it did actually happen in my lung, they could take out the lung totally. But I haven't had it I've had little wedges in my lung, but it's more serious ones now have been the glands around it and up near my heart and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know until I get to talk to them what they want to do.
How are you feeling about upcoming results for Christian?
I feel alright about results. Radiotherapy, I don't know. Yeah, my concern is if it does come back. If it comes back in the lung, that's my concern, but if it comes back anywhere else, we've got more of a chance of cutting it out.
I chose my seat, but my seat's bigger.
Washed the car yesterday. I'm not going home until I wash the car. There we go. Hello. Hi, how you going? What happened? Right. Yeah. Alright. Okay. Love ya. Bye. It's alright. He's got to have a PET scan to make sure that the no tumours are there back in the lung or anywhere else in the body. And then so he'll do that, and the radiation guy who did the radiation for his thyroid cancer, he's going to meet with him, which is good because it's the same guy. On the lung, like, they're not saying that if it does come back in that lung, then it is unlikely that they would be able to operate. But if it comes back anywhere else in the body, you know, they should be fine to operate. The best form of treatment for melanoma is to just keep cutting it out, which we knew. Because he's had the golden staph infection, they want to give that a couple more weeks to sort of clear up and for him to feel better. And so 2 weeks he has the PET scan to check that. And he meets with the radiation guy. They said that they've looked at all the scans and everything, and they said that they shouldn't have any problems radiating that area in the lung, so that's good. So that probably will go ahead, but not yet, not until the golden staph infection is sort of totally cleared up. So at the moment it's all good. Unless his PET scan shows up any more tumours, then we're back to square one. That's the one, I think. Good thing about this 40th birthday is it gives Christian something to look forward to. He's about to start with his radiotherapy, which is going to be 6 weeks, and should finish, well, probably past his birthday now, but initially it was going to finish right on his birthday. So the radiotherapy is every day for 6 weeks except weekends. My mum's just finished radiotherapy, and towards the end you get quite tired.
We've had a melanoma clinic here at the Austin for almost 20 years, and the reason I got involved is because I work with the Ludwig Institute for Cancer Research, which is an organisation which studies the relationship between cancer and the immune system. And the Institute made some important discoveries in the early 1990s about the immune system and cancer, which gave us some opportunities to do clinical trials with some new melanoma treatments, which were being developed at the time. I met Christian in the late 1990s, and at that stage he had melanoma which had not spread beyond the groin. As I recall, he had surgery to remove tumour from the groin region, and at that stage, after surgery, was disease-free, but at some risk of the disease coming back. Christian came to us to take part in the clinical trials that we're doing with these new immune therapies. At that stage, there was a lot of interest in the research that we were doing, and we'd had a little bit of publicity, so it was known out there in the community that research into the immunotherapy of melanoma was something we were doing. And Christian, like a number of other people, came to us interested in the clinical research that was underway and wondering about the ability to participate in a clinical trial. About half of the patients with melanoma have got something known as a mutation in a molecule called BRAF. Now, BRAF is in all of our cells. We've all got BRAF, but in a proportion of patients with melanoma, as I say, about half, there's a mutation of the gene which gives rise to BRAF. And what happens is that when that gene is mutated, it gives rise to a protein in the cell which is activated. And that activated protein is like a little engine that drives the growth of the melanoma cells. So when that mutation is present and the little BRAF molecule is switched on, it's been shown very successfully that it's possible to use drugs to block the effect of the overactive BRAF molecule and switch it off. And when that happens, you can stop the growth of cancer cells. However, it only works in those patients who've got the mutation. If the mutation's there, the drug won't work.
So Christian is an avid Melbourne fan, and at my Jim Steins, he was very shocked when Jim Steins passed away. But at the same time, he was somebody that Christian looked up to in watching his documentaries. And did you want to comment on?
Well, so I think what Jim Steins symbolised was someone who never gave up, who fought on against all odds and showed amazing bravery in the face of a devastating illness. And I think anyone seeing a human being engage in that struggle and face challenges like that would be inspired. And so I think it's absolutely understandable that someone with melanoma who would see parallels with their own situation would gain inspiration from that. I mean, the sad reality is that a significant proportion of patients with advanced melanoma do end up dying of their disease. When it does spread, it's often a fatal disease. So what happened in Jim Stein's case is something which happens to many patients with melanoma. So carers are family members, loved ones, partners, friends. They come in all shapes and sizes, and everyone's circumstances are different. So patients will often come with family members. Some people prefer not to bring family with them. At a personal level, I often encourage patients to bring family along. I think it's important that they're supported through their illness by family. Depending on people's individual circumstances and wishes, they may choose not to, and we don't force people to do that. Often when they're faced with a crisis during the course of their illness, if they come into hospital or something happens which requires a discussion, we'll encourage them to not face that alone, but to face it together with a carer. Often during routine care, when people are coming to an outpatient appointment and everything's going well, they and we may not see the need for a family member to come along. But it's enormously variable, and I guess we largely leave it with the patient and their family to sort out for themselves.
Happy birthday, Christian. I hope you have a wonderful day and many more.
Hi Christian, happy 40th birthday. You've made it, mate. Good luck, lots more. Talk to you soon.
Happy 40th birthday, Christian. It's a wonderful time, and I've got to say, it's hard to believe, but you're even better looking now than you were when I first met you.
Hi Christian, happy birthday. Hope there's many more.
Alright, happy birthday boy, enjoy your 40th. I've worked my guts out as usual. Thank you.
Christian, it's been a pleasure working with you. My most enjoyable times have been when you're on the operating table and asleep, so that you're not talking to me and telling me what to do. But I have enjoyed and been very satisfied that I've been able to fulfill my side of the bargain and managed to get you to be awake the next morning to see your lovely wife and your kids. Happy 40th. I hope that I don't see you in the operating theatre again, but if I do, I will be very happy to sink a knife in your back again.
Hi Christian, happy 40th birthday. Really glad I could be here today. You're still an old fart.
Happy birthday Christian, have a good day. Love you, Nana.
Happy birthday, Christian.
And Flynn, say
Happy birthday, Daddy.
So well done on making it to 40, and your disease is under control. You've sailed through a lot of pretty challenging treatment and continue to bounce up and smile and keep on top of things. So here's to another 40 years of good health, and we'll do what we can to make sure that that happens.
Christian, congratulations on turning 40. I hear that 40 is the new 25, so may you have a long and fruitful life ahead of you, and may your footy team win a grand final in a not too distant future.
Get a camera.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Christian. Happy birthday to you. Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
Ready, Bob out?
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your gifts and your kind words. I really appreciate it. It's been a hard time, and it's been really great to spend this day with you all. So thank you very much.
The conventional wisdom is that chemotherapy is not very good for melanoma, and there's a lot of truth in that. The way we measure that is we put a number on how much cancer there is in someone's body, and we say, okay, what's the chance of this treatment reducing the amount of cancer by 50% or more? A really major reduction. That happens probably in no more than 10% of people who get conventional chemotherapy. What you do see, though, in a greater proportion of people is a minor reduction in the tumour, or a slowing down or flattening off of the tumour growth rate. So even though that's not a major reduction, that's still a pretty useful outcome for someone whose cancer was growing rapidly before. And so we use it trying to see that big reduction, but even if we don't see that, if we just see a cancer that stops growing and sits there, that's actually quite a good outcome and very valuable for people. So we do use it, but we're very conscious of its limitations, and we need better treatments.
Oh, hi, my name's It's Marni Cousins. I just wanted to ring and maybe speak to someone. Just not really coping very well at the moment. And, yeah, I just thought I'd give someone a call. I'm actually seeing my counsellor on the 4th of July, but I don't know, it'd just be good to get a chance to chat to someone now. And I think, I just think I've hit a bit of a brick wall, so to speak. Like, I just, you know, with the kids being sick, and he's not getting any better. He's just so frustrated and fed up too, I think. So.
What made you stay with me when you first found out I had melanoma?
Okay. I stay with you because I want you and I want to be with you.
Yeah, but didn't the big C cancer word didn't you think, well, I don't think I can deal with this and I can't cope and it's better off jumping now than going through it?
No, it never occurred to me. Like, to me, it's only got harder now. To me, I only think the more serious things now, that we've got kids and now that, you know, you've had so many surgeries.
So what's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is that you're going to leave me.
Not deliberately, but...
You're going to leave me with 3 kids and I'm going to be on my own, and I think it's just little things like getting things done, day-to-day things done, and I'll be in the kitchen one day and need you to do something and you won't be there.
But that's why I always have felt that I've got the easy job fighting it. Because at the end of the day, I die if I die. You're the one who has to get the kids up, get them to school, cook, clean, play with the kids, make sure they don't forget me, and do all that other stuff. Whereas I just battle this cancer. That's why I've always said I've got the easy job. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I would hate it if you had it. Because I don't think I'd be strong enough to be able to cope.
When you're in hospital, I cope alright. Like, I cope well. So, you know, I have a lot of support and a lot of help around. And I do things and I keep going and I turn into a bit of a, you know, autopilot thing, and I just get through it. But there's like a set stage. Like, I know you're in hospital for, say, a week, and I know that at the end of the week you'll be home, and it's kind of like shifting from being dependent on someone to becoming independent again, and then shifting back to being dependent on someone again. As long as I know that, you know, I can cope when you're not there, but if it's to the point where you're not there forever, I think that's a different story.
Have you started preparing yourself mentally for the worst?
Yeah. I think about it a lot more now.
There's not one day goes by where I don't think about it at one stage. And I suppose I was a little bit like you. I'm either stupid or naive or not really understanding it, because it's only really hit me this time, and it's hit me harder. Not just because it could be my last surgery or whatever else, but there's more of a realisation now that it could actually kill me. Whereas before, it wasn't really in my mindset that it was going to kill me. Like, I never had a doubt or a feeling in me that it was going to get me. But now, I have this feeling that it's going to get me. I just don't know when. But there isn't a day where it doesn't pop into my head, and there's not a day that, you know, I don't have a cold or a cough or a flu or a virus or something else that I think, oh, is it back? Or, you know, I've got a sore spot on my ribs, or, you know, have I pulled a muscle, or is it something more sinister?
Statistics don't mean anything for that one person, because it may well be that, you know, Christian getting melanoma is rare. Christian getting metastatic melanoma is exceedingly rare. But if you tell Christian, wow, how unlucky are you to get metastatic melanoma, it doesn't mean a thing, because he and your family are experiencing this. So it doesn't matter whether it's 1 in a million or 1 in 2 chance of getting metastatic melanoma, you've got it. If we all say that metastatic melanoma there's a terrible prognosis and the chance of survival of 12 months is very poor, but the statistics are there to be beaten. And Christian has displayed the fact that they are there to be beaten. The long-term prognosis is that he is as close to cancer-free as he can be. No one with metastatic cancer of any type can really be 100% sure that they're cancer-free.
Just before Christmas, I had a little bit of a gastro bug, which made me violently ill, and while being violently ill and vomiting, I managed to pop a suture in my lung, which gave me a pneumothorax, which was pretty scary and pretty sore. Felt a squishing in my chest and I didn't feel quite right. I went up to my local hospital and they checked me out and they said, look, you're fine, no worries. You know, if you start struggling with your breathing, come back and we'll see what it is. Didn't bother to give me an x-ray or a check-up or anything else. They just let me go. So I came home. Marni was out doing a film shoot at the time. Then she came back. I told her what happened and I wasn't feeling the best. At about 6 o'clock in the morning, I was really struggling with my breathing. It was quite tight in my chest and I didn't feel right. So I woke Marni up and told her to call an ambulance. And the paramedics came, and about 4 or 5 of them all decided to have a listen to my lung, and because they haven't heard a pneumothorax before. So they all had a bit of listen and rushed me off to that same hospital, where they did an x-ray and tested me out and realised that there was air leaking from my lung into my lung cavity, chest cavity. I then told the doctor who was on charge to call the Austin Hospital and talk to my doctors there about what was going on. So I want to be transferred there because I have more faith in that hospital and the people who work there, and to be around my own doctors. So after about 7 hours, they gave me some really nice drugs to put me to sleep a little bit while they put another chest tube in. In the meantime, the chest tube went in. I woke up, and they, going from that hospital to the Austin Hospital and going into my room at the Austin, I managed to pick up a staph infection, which was quite fun. My heart rate went up to about 180 beats a minute, and my temperature was quite high, and this was all at rest. So they quickly called the emergency team and got me up and onto some antibiotics, and I managed to be on antibiotics for quite some time. I missed Christmas, which was awful. Luckily we had Skype so I could see the kids open their presents and have fun up at King Lake, which we do every year. But it was an awful, awful time because it was Archer's first Christmas and it was something I really didn't want to miss. After that, they put a PICC line in, and I was stuck on antibiotics for 6 weeks. a nurse came every morning to make up the doses. At the end of the 6 weeks, they finally took it off me, and I've been well ever since. At the end of April, I started radiation treatment, which was quite tough. Every day, same time, you'd go in and check your name off, go down to the changing rooms and get into your stuff you have to wear. You'd then go into the machine and they'd set you up on the same measurements and tattoos, little dot points, where they lined up this machine, and it probably the setup took longer than the actual radiation. I was expecting lights and to see these beams and everything shooting in me and being able to see what this radiation treatment was, but unfortunately you don't see any of that. It's basically just a noise. You hear a humming noise as this machine moves around your body, and did about 5 or 6 spots. One on my side, one from the top, one from the back, and 2 from the back, so basically 4 or 5 shots into me. And I went for every day for 25 days. By the end of it, I was pretty exhausted and tired, a little bit sore, and that's continued on 2 to 3 to 4 weeks after the treatment. And it's been quite tough, not just for me, but had no energy to play with the kids, needed to rest a lot more, needed to sleep a lot more, and it was a lot of load was left on Marni to actually carry the slack, because I just did not have the energy to basically do anything, and felt pretty useless doing the whole thing anyway. But now that's all over, and hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, that it's killed any remaining cancers in there, and it doesn't return, and that's all I hope for. Now it's time for the sex scene.
What would be something that you would miss about me if you had to go?
Wouldn't miss your cooking. Luckily I cook. I'd miss you doing the washing all the time, wouldn't you? No, seriously.
I'd have to pay someone to come in and cook.
Yeah, you would too. I just miss you being there. Knowing that you're there. Like someone to talk to, someone to hold, someone to cuddle, someone to share the kids' enjoyment with. You know, Archer takes his first steps, and if you're not there, well, it's just me. Like I want to share the kids growing up. I want to, you know, I'd miss having you there. If you were going to talk to someone who had just found out that their husband or whatever had cancer, what advice and what things would you say to them?
A lot of it's done on autopilot. Like, I just switch gears, especially when I'm really tired. But I think the biggest thing is learning how to ask for help is probably the hardest thing anyone could ever do in that situation. But I think once you, in your mindset, when I was at counselling, someone said to me, my counsellor said to me, if someone asks you for help, think about what would be the most comfortable for them to do for you. So if you don't want them to come into your house, then think of something that would be outside the house that maybe they can help, like, or if they ask to do your washing, give them your towels and not your clothes or something like that. So be selective as to what you want that person to do to help you, so that you don't feel like you're giving them everything, or you don't then later feel guilty for giving them so much.
Now, we were lucky enough to meet our inspiration in Sam Stein's on Saturday night. Why is she such an inspiration to you?
She's an inspiration to me because she's got 2 kids, and she's looked after, you know, a wonderful man who's sadly now gone. But I think too is that I see that his illness was obviously far more advanced than what you have. Seeing her on Saturday night and seeing that she's coping and her kids are happy and running around, I think was reassuring for me. If anything bad happened, that there's life after. Every time I see her, I think about that clip on the news where she talks about the tumours, and I've said this before, I'm pretty sure, but you know, like in the game thing at the festival where you get the hammer and the tumours pop up and you hammer them down, and you know, that's how she saw Jim's tumours. You know, they pop up, then hammer them, cut them out, and then another one will pop up, so they cut it out. And like, it never used to be like that. When we met, it was so different. And now I see those tumours popping up and I'm hitting them down. And yeah. And it just gets harder and harder.
I actually feel guilty for having cancer. I feel guilty for putting you through this. And I hate every single minute of it, because I don't think you deserve this as part of your life. And I'm not planning on going anytime soon. And I promise you I'll fight as long and as hard as I can to be here. But I know for a fact that I couldn't have got this far without you. I couldn't have been able to cope and do things and have some normality to my life if you weren't a part of it. And I feel lucky and privileged to have you as a carer, but more of you being my best friend, and my wife, and my soulmate. And I'm sorry that I've got cancer. I wish there was something I could do to stop it, to change it, but I can't. All I can do is fight it and try and stay healthy and eat healthy and look after myself and and do whatever I can. But I want you to know that I love you more than anything in this whole wide world, and you and the boys are the most important things in it.
Flynn, he does stress and worry that when I do go to hospital, I won't come home. He misses me and he cries and he gets upset when I'm in hospital. But every time I've come home, haven't I? Yeah, stick your finger out. Smile at the camera and show your chops. It all started in '99, where I had a mole on my hip that went a bit funny. And that's when they first told me that it was melanoma. It didn't really hit me, I suppose, until I had a family, that the consequences of it. I've had about 12 or 13 surgeries. You know when you go to a hospital too much is when you're walking in the doors and you see nurses and they recognise you and they say hello and they know your name. Oh, hi Christian, how are you? Yeah, good, thanks. And
we've been working with melanoma for many years now, and for a long time there was nothing much that made any difference. And these days there are new medications which are really making a huge difference for the treatment of the disease. Each research discovery builds on the shoulders of the research discoveries that came before. And what that means, I think, is that there's an accelerating rate of discovery, and that's going to create opportunities, you know, many of which we can't anticipate, but which are coming faster and faster as time goes on.
I've got a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old. If I do lose the battle, then they've got to go on after that. That's the biggest fear, I suppose, for me, is that I'm not going to see my kids grow up or get married or have their own kids, and that's what I live for. Without the research, without people trying to find cures for this, more people are going to die. And they're not going to get closer to a cure. They're not going to get a way to be able to save more families from heartache. So you've got a chance to help so many families and so many people that one day we can have something there that's going to stop it, it's going to kill it, it's going to get rid of it. And that's what we need. So we need people to dig deep and help out.